Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey folks, looks like we have got Christopher Wray backed into a corner with the contempt of Congress charge. He is said he was not going to give up the information, and now that they have told him they have the information, I'm talking about James Comer, has told Christopher Wray that we have seen the information, but we want you to produce the information. Well, the closest thing they're getting to a compromise at this point is Christopher Wray says that I will come to the Congress and show you the information. My question is why can't he give the information up since it is not considered classified information? It's because once the Congress actually has the document in hand, they can actually use it for criminal referral. And the DOJ, Christopher Wray, the FBI do not want criminal referral indictment charges against anybody with the last name of Biden, because it's going to turn out to prove that these very people were protecting the Bidens, which anybody that's following this at this point sees the writing on the wall. These folks are trapped, and they're cornered like rats in so many ways, and all we can do at this point as far as sticking it to them is to try to impeach these folks, try to get this information out there and hit it so hard and heavy that even the mainstream media has no choice but to cover it. And that's what I'm looking forward to, when the mainstream media stops lying because it's not working anymore and they're losing their listeners behind it. That's where we need to get to in this country. It's kind of the boycott scenario for being lied to. You get lied to enough, eventually you'll turn your back and stop listening to that in that direction. And that's what I'm hoping is going to happen here. That's why I like to bring y'all videos like this. You stick around to the end, even though it's going to be a little bit of a long video. We got Ron Johnson. He actually gets to barbecue Christopher Wray a little bit himself.
Yes, you said you were in a...
I was watching a couple of different clips as well about Mayorkas getting scored up, but I'm going to do a special video where I have about 10 questions for Mr. Mayorkas. Since I already got his no answer answered, I'm going to set him up with some really crappy questions and do like a mock interview just for fun, folks. If you have any great questions you'd like to ask Mr. Mayorkas, put them in the comments down below. I'd appreciate it. Now let's go ahead and get into this.
Attorney, you're a very good prosecutor. I believe it. I've read your bio. You're a good attorney. You understand what quid pro quo is, correct?
I do.
You understand what asking for something in exchange for something actually means, correct?
I do.
You know about the conversation of Mr. Biden when he asked and he said, I'm not going to give you the $1 billion. You know about that conversation, correct? You want me to read it to you, or do you know it?
One second. Are you talking about in 2015?
No, I'm talking about the one from the national, where you did I'll read it to you since you're having trouble. As I remember going over to the Ukraine, convincing our team, our leaders, convincing them that we should provide for loan guarantees. I went over, I guess, the 12th or 13th time to Kiev. I was supposed to announce that there was a $1 billion loan guarantee. And I got a commitment from Poroshenko in the sense that they would take action against the state prosecutor. They didn't.
Now, if you don't know the backstory to this, there's actually a video about this where Biden is sitting at a conference and he is bragging about how he threatened to withhold the $1 billion of aid while he was vice president if they didn't fire the prosecutor who was looking into Burisma, which was Hunter Biden and John Kerry's son's side deals over there involving I guess selling out our energy to foreign nations and being a part of that deal. So that's the backstory on this. But this is not actually about the video of Joe Biden saying this. This is actually about the information that backs up this to be a fact. And he's trying to corner him on it. And me, it sounds like it got him dead to right.
So they said they were walking out to the press conference. I said, nah, I'm not going to. Or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have authority. You have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, I said, call him. Laughter. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm getting ready to be leaving here in I think about 6 hours. I looked at them and said, I'm leaving here in 6 hours. If the prosecutor is not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch, he got fired.
Remember
Did he
that?
ask for something, request something, and hold something of value?
He did. George Kent testified that was...
I think I'll do what you did. George Kent testified. I'm asking about not George Kent. I'm asking about this question.
Right, but it's important context.
It's not. Answer this question. Did he or did he not? Either Joe Biden's a liar, telling a story to make people impressed, or he actually did this.
Both.
Which is it?
He did it pursuant to U.S. official policy.
So he did it in withholding actual dollars, actual thing, holding this out there. So Joe Biden, of everybody that we discussed about, is the only one that's done a quid pro quo. He's the only one that's used taxpayer dollars to actually threaten a foreign government. And yet we're sitting here pretending that this is not happening? We're sitting here pretending that a president of the United States now would not be concerned? Look, you look at it this way. Joe Biden's a terrible candidate. He can destroy himself on the campaign trail, but he can't get by this. And it doesn't matter who brings it up. It doesn't matter who does it, because this is what happened. And you can whitewash it all you want. You can go over whatever you want, but that's what he did. He's either a liar or he did it, and he did it.
It's nearly a 300-page report.
Would you be amazed if it was 600 times or better?
Dang.
You wouldn't have any idea or not?
I have no idea.
Okay? You did. It's over 600 times. Would you also understand, if you do a simple check of your report, that over 158 times Mr. Sondland said, instead of not knowing something, to the best of my knowledge, or I don't know? Would that surprise you?
Are you talking about the report or his deposition?
The deposition and the closed-door testimony.
Yes, and over time he remembered a lot more as he...
He's questioning him about his answers to everything they ask. When you ask them 300-plus questions and over 150 of them are, I can't answer the question, it's a little monotonous. That's why I want to do a couple of videos about some of these liars that can't answer the question and throw them some hardball questions of my choice, because I already know how they're going to react.
He was refreshed by other people's testimony.
It is. The question we're having here, though, is Mr. Sondland also said, and many times he said he presumed what actually happened. Let's go back to something else. We're going to continue this in just a moment. According to your report, HIPSI, and we'll classify that and we'll determine that to be the Intelligence Committee and the other investigation with the other two committees. We okay with that?
Certainly.
Okay. Issued dozens of subpoenas, is that right?
I'm not... certainly over a dozen, yes.
Some of the subpoenas were not publicly reported until the HIPSI issued its majority report, correct?
Most of the subpoenas...
Answer the question. Is Mr. Burke had so much free reign? Let's go at it. Either answer the question or elaborate, one or the other.
Sir, I'm trying to answer the question.
Did you or didn't you? Did it come out or not?
Did what come out?
I'll read it again. Some of the subpoenas were not publicly reported until the HIPSI issued its majority report, correct?
Okay, let me explain to y'all what this is in reference to. The HIPSI report is where several different entities in the government have the right to share information with each other in order for everybody to be on the same page as far as documents and things go, as far as common knowledge between the FBI and, say, the DOJ or whatever. Well, the HIPSI report proved that people like Devin Nunez and Mark Meadows were being spied on basically by Adam Schiff's department of the intelligence and the intelligence agencies, and they were doing it through getting in contact with these communications companies, for example, AT&T, which is one of the ones they're talking about here. And they literally got busted doing it, and this guy can't answer the question why, how, when. Can you at least elaborate on why this all started? He didn't have any better answers either.
Yes, they were given to the minority, but not the public. Yes.
Putting aside the witnesses who have publicly been identified, did you issue any other subpoenas for testimony other than the ones publicly identified?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Thank you.
But I'm not sure.
How many subpoenas were issued for records?
Well, we issued a number of subpoenas for records. We did issue 6 subpoenas to executive branch agencies, and they all defied our subpoenas.
In this, moving on to other issues here, the Wall Street Journal reported that the committee issued at least 4 subpoenas to Verizon and AT&T for call records. Is that correct? Are we wondering?
Yes, we are, because there are multiple numbers We only issued subpoenas for call records for people who were involved in the investigation and who had already been subpoenaed by the committee for documents and testimony of their own.
Absolutely wonderful stuff, but answer my question. 4?
Well, I am trying to answer your question.
Was it at least 4?
Yes.
Thank you. Could have saved us a lot of time there. How many subpoenas were issued to AT&T?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Can you check your records? This is important, because we just found out about this over the weekend. We got a massive document dump over the weekend preparing for this hearing in which the chairman admitted and the staff admitted they're not going to be able to read it all anyway. So for all of you writing reports about this, all that massive document dump, we're just simply going on a Schiff report, which Schiff refuses to come testify about, but sends his staff. So this is important stuff. We just found out about this. So how many subpoenas were issued to AT&T?
I don't know. If you'd like me to find out during the break, I'd be happy to.
Then, again, maybe your chairman could be here to actually answer this. Was it targeted at a single telephone number or numbers?
We subpoenaed for call records, multiple numbers.
How many?
I don't know. None of, this is very important though. None of members of Congress, none of staff of Congress.
Oh, we're getting to that.
None of journalists.
We're getting to that.
We only did it to the subjects who were involved in the investigation, which is a very routine and standard investigative practice.
And you're not going to hear anything from me about a subpoena and the legality of a subpoena. My problem is this. Who on the committee asked that those numbers that you actually did put into for a subpoena and get those numbers back? Who was it that asked that they be cross-checked for members of the media and members of the Congress? Who ordered that?
I don't think that's how we did it, sir.
No, whoa. You came out with a report that actually showed these people, such as Mr. Chairman Nunez and others, were actually on these calls.
Yes.
Now, someone, and you and I, we're not going to play cute here. Somebody took the 4 records that you asked for, at least 4, took those numbers, and then said, hey, let's play match game. Who ordered the match game for members of Congress and the press? Was it you?
I don't think anyone did, sir.
Then how did you get, okay, come on, that's the most ridiculous item I've ever heard. You don't just all of a sudden pick up numbers in which you have to match those numbers to actually show where they are, and you don't come up with them. Who ordered them to actually match for members of Congress and the press?
That's actually what you just described is exactly how it happened.
Who ordered to find out if Nunez's number was on those calls?
If I could just explain, sir. You pick an event of significance in the investigation, and you look for sequencing and patterns surrounding that event. You look then at the numbers, and you try to identify what those numbers are, and then you start to build the circumstantial case.
At this point, that's a wonderful explanation, but not an answer to my question. Those are you looking for the 4 numbers you asked for and to see how they're connected. I understand the subpoena that you issued. My question directly, was it you or was it Chairman Schiff that said, while we're doing this, let's see if this matches Chairman Nunez's number. Let's see if this matches a member of the press's number. Somebody along the way just didn't all of a sudden have an epiphany, unless you're getting ready to throw a low-level staffer under the bus, that these numbers might match. So who did it? Was it Chairman Schiff or was it you? Be careful, you're under oath.
I know I'm under oath, sir.
Then answer the question.
Matter. And I will answer the question, if you give me a second here. It's not a simple answer.
The same second that was not afforded to my witness, by the way.
Well, I think he was allowed to answer the question.
Who decided to leak it, by the way? If you're not going to tell me the other story, while you're thinking about how you're going to answer that question, who decided to leak it?
Get him.
The information. Why did you include it in the report?
That's not a leak, sir.
Why did you include it in the report? After not saying anything else about this, not publicly known. So 2 questions are hanging out that everybody's looking for an answer for, including me. Who ordered it? Was it you or was it Chairman Schiff? And then why was it decided, except for nothing but smear purposes, to be included in the Schiff report?
Well, I'm not going to get into the deliberations of our investigation with you, and I will tell you the reason it was included in the report is because the calls were surrounding important evidence to our investigation. And I think that your question is frankly not better directed not at me, but at the people who were having conversations.
Oh, no, we're not going to play that game. No, we're not going to play that game. You're as good as Mr. Burke. You're not going to play that game. You're not answering the question. And every member of the media, everybody here, when you start going into the decorum of this House, when you start looking at members' telephone numbers, you start looking at reporters' telephone numbers, which they ought to be scared about, you took a subpoena for 4. And then you decided to play match game. You found numbers that you thought were like, some of them actually didn't exist because they claimed that they were for the White House Budget Office, and they were not. So we're throwing stories out there because nobody was out there acting. So I go back to my question. Are you going to go on record in front of everybody here today and say that you will not tell who ordered this, you or Mr. Goldman? Mr. Goldman, you or Mr. Schiff?
I am going to go on record and tell you that I'm not going to reveal how we conducted this investigation.
And that's the problem we have with this entire thing. Mr. Schiff said behind closed doors.
But I can tell you what the importance is.
I'm done with you for right now. We're done. As you were discussing Mr. Sondland, you made a very snide comment. Your facial expression showed that he was $1 million donor to the president. The implication being he either got his job because he bought it, or his implication was he was loyal to the president and say anything about it. Be very careful about how you throw around dollars in giving, because you and Mr. Burke are real heavy donors to the Democratic Party, and I'm not going to say it questions your motives or your position here today, but we need to make sure that this thing is already blown out of proportion. We're already not answering questions, and you are here without a pen because your chairman will not testify. That says all we need to hear. He don't even stand behind his own report, and he sends you. I hope it works out for you. I'm done. At this point, I turn it over to Ashley.
Could I respond? Are you trying to say that I what are you trying to say? What is the implication here? But by the way, I didn't give anything close to $1 million remotely, so I don't know.
The implication is we want Schiff in that chair, not you. The implication is the person that wrote the report is the person that should come and present it, and you weren't elected by anybody, and you're here giving this testimony in place of the chairman. I hope that clears up the implication.
The gentleman does not have the time, and the gentleman has been warned.
Get him, Matt.
He cannot simply yell out and disrupt the committee. The gentleman, Mr.
Well, that's Jerry Nadler trying to stand up for the guy that's having to stand in for Adam Schiff because he refuses to come before the committee because he's been caught lying so many times he doesn't want to be caught lying anymore, so he sends in a lackey. That's the way it goes, folks. I'm glad these Republicans are tearing into him. I can't wait till they get Adam Schiff subpoenaed and make him answer some questions because you know he can't tell the truth. All right, folks, let's go ahead and jump into this other clip. I've got a little short clip here from Ron Johnson that is awesome as well.
To a letter that you sent, I think
it's bureaucratic gobbledygook is what that is. That's not a response.
We offered in that letter to provide a senior executive of the FBI to walk through in detail our process.
What your process is, but not specifically who directed a briefing that was used to smear me. Have you looked into
how they were trying to skirt that one
of that briefing to the Washington Post? Have you investigated that?
I'm not going to discuss specific investigations. As to the briefing question and who directs it, let me be very clear about this. When it comes to election-related defensive briefings, there is not a single person who makes that decision. That is an interagency process that was set up by the prior administration, signed off on by the former president.
Well, there are
Office of the Director of National
persons in that interagency, correct? So there would be persons. So we should know who those persons are. Why won't you tell us who directed that briefing? The persons, then.
I would refer you to the process that was put in place, and we can give you more information about the process if you would like.
Process doesn't answer questions.
Have you read Senator Grassley's and my report on Hunter Biden's corruption? Issued in September of 2020 and November of 2020. Have you read those reports?
I have had a chance to look at it.
Do you see any sign of Russian disinformation in those reports?
That would be a hard question for me to answer.
No, it's very easy.
It's very easy.
What I would say to
it's a very easy answer.
Son of a bitch. You can't even answer
Russian
the question.
Disinformation. That
yes or no?
Is completely clean of any interference of foreign influence, although we have been falsely accused, including by the chairman of this committee, of spreading Russian disinformation. Are you aware of the FBI having any involvement whatsoever in the October 19, 2020 public statement by 51 former intelligence officials?
I'm not aware of any involvement by the FBI in what you're describing.
The reason I ask is, if it's true that in August of 2020, the FBI initiated a scheme to downplay derogatory information on Hunter Biden, it would seem like maybe part of that scheme would be to get intelligence officials to issue a letter that stated that the laptop had all the earmarks of a Russian information operation. That was totally false. We now know that the Hunter laptop is completely authentic. The point I'm trying to make here is the unsolicited briefing that was leaked in May of 2021 was used to smear me and interfered into the U.S. Senate election of November 2022.
Tell him.
One of the whistleblowers to my committee has stated that the FBI was no longer going to interfere in the election, something to that effect. I can't find it right now, and I'm running out of time. Oh, here it is. The FBI is, quote, not going to change the outcome of the election again. Well, the FBI certainly tried to by leaking, or somebody leaked that FBI briefing. Are you going to investigate that? Because that is the election interference. And let's face it, this letter by 51 intelligence officials, this interfered in the 2020 election to a far greater extent than anything Russia or China ever could have hoped to accomplish. You have to acknowledge that. It has to be investigated. I have no faith that you will do so.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. Senator Hassan, you are recognized for your questions.
Well, thank you, Chair Peters, and I want to...
That guy's like a deer in the headlight. Doesn't want to answer a damn question for anybody. That is just plumb disgusting. Like, subscribe, and share, Devoted Patriots. Everybody have a great day, and I just thought I'd bring you a little of Christopher Wray doing the SQUIRM.